Representative, welcome to the program here. You've ruffled a lot of feathers with this proposal you have about starting school in September.
Yes.
Where did this come from?
Well, you know, this just came from, I'm a public school parent. I've got 3 kids in Frisco public schools. I talked to a lot of other parents, and the bottom line is I think our parents had it right starting school after Labor Day. We cooled down some of the largest buildings in most communities across the state of Texas during the hottest month of the year, which costs more money, puts more of a strain on the grid. And then in addition to that, you've got kids playing on playground equipment that's too hot to touch. You've got football players and band members practicing in excruciating heat. We can push things back just a few weeks and make life better for Texas school children.
What kind of reaction have you had from this, though?
You know, it's been overwhelmingly positive. You know, there has been some dust up in some communities, I think, that are saying, you know, hey, why, you know, what we're doing now is good.
Yeah.
But, you know, my kids got out of school in mid-May last school year. May is 12 degrees cooler on average than the month of August. If we just push that back a couple of weeks and push August back a couple of weeks, start after Labor Day, we can save a lot of money. We can save, you know, help protect the grid as we're adding 1,100 new residents a day in an expanding economy. So it's a good opportunity, I think, for us. Probably too much common sense to hear out of a politician, but I think it's a good plan.
How much of this, though, is about the grid and trying to protect the grid here? Because is this a Band-Aid for it?
You know, look, this isn't a silver bullet to fix the grid, but you know, folks don't realize that California, the largest populated state in the country, their peak demand is only 60% of ours. We have a massively growing grid. We've got 1,100 new residents a day. We'll be the 7th largest economy in the world by the end of this current school year. So we've got to do just any step that we can to just be smarter about how and when we consume electricity.
Do you plan to introduce a bill?
Absolutely.
Make this happen?
Yes, sir.
Do you think you'll have support on that?
I think so. I think this is a bipartisan, common sense issue that we can get done in the Texas House, and we'll see where it goes.
Representative, the SCOPE Act, which you were a joint author on, is supposed to take effect today. It's still tied up in court, though. It requires anyone under 18 to get permission from parents in order to sign up for an account online, social media, and things like that. Explain how that will work, because there are so many tech-savvy teenagers who can find workarounds to almost anything.
Yeah, look, I'm so excited to be here to talk about the SCOPE Act because I'm so passionate about protecting our kids online. You might recall I made international headlines a couple of years ago when I said that we're going to ban all minors from social media.
I remember that.
You know, we have a mental health crisis in this state. We have more kids killing themselves than at any point in our history. And so last session, Speaker Phelan generated this bill, made it a speaker priority bill to make sure that we can go over and protect our kids online. It's held up in the courts right now. But I'm hopeful that it will take effect because these minors need to be protected from the dangerous situation that is right at their fingertips.
Explain how it will work, though. Do my kids need to have my permission to sign on? Why can't they figure out a way around this?
Yeah, so you know that's a really good question, and I think that every application is going to be different. We're looking at legislation to kind of bolster the SCOPE Act next session that's passed in other states like Tennessee that would require parental approval in the App Store even. So you know, depending on whether you're online on a computer, on your device, it could be different depending on where you are. The bottom line is the SCOPE Act also protects kids from these algorithms that take them down these scary rabbit holes. It protects data privacy for minors who, again, can't sign a contract. You know, they're signing up for a set of terms that they can't even agree to legally. So it's a robust bill that's going to protect our minors.
Let me ask you about this motion that the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression filed in court, trying to get a judge to block this. Does a 15-year-old not have a First Amendment right to free speech?
You know, that's a great question. So everybody has fundamental rights, right? But just as a 15-year-old has a Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, you know, we have reasonable regulations around that for minors. A minor can't go out and purchase a handgun in the state of Texas because there are reasonable regulations to protect minors. It's time that we treat mental health with the same respect that we do physical health of our minors, and that starts with protecting them on these social media applications.
Let's talk politics in the House here. Speaker Phelan hired a political veteran down in Austin, Mike Toomey, to be his new chief of staff. What message does that send? Because we all watched the relationship between the House and the Senate last year.
Well, you know, Mike Toomey is the guy that is brought in when something big needs to happen. He's been a chief of staff for 2 governors. Governor Abbott brought him in on the COVID-19 situation to lead our response to that effort a few years ago. He is one of the brightest, most strategic minds in Austin. And I think what it shows is that we are serious about doing the business of the people in the state of Texas, that we're going to work across party lines. We're going to work across the hall down with the Senate. We're going to work with the governor's office, and we're building the right team to do that. You might have seen he hit the ground running with an announcement that we're already working on school choice. We're not going to wait until January. We're already working on how to better our economy and keep it the miracle that it is in the United States. So we're blowing and going. We hit the ground running, and Mike Toomey is the man for the job.
One of Phelan's priorities is improving education with a strong focus on school choice and education funding.
Yes.
What do you think we're going to see next session? Are there going to be standalone school vouchers, or will there also be a boost for public education as well?
Well, you know, that remains to be seen, but I think we have to do both. Whether it's in the same bill or not, we have to do both. If you look at what we had before us in the last special session last year, it was a massive increase in public education funding, more money for teacher pay, but it also allowed 50,000 students out of the 5.5 million students that are SPED students, that are 504 students, students that are in failing schools, to go out and choose a different educational system if that's what they need for their family. When that got stripped out of the bill, everything kind of died. That's probably where we're going to pick up now with how do we better fund our public schools, how do we better protect our teachers and their funding, but also how do we give those students the opportunity to choose a different system if that's what they need for their families.
What would you support?
I'd support all the above. The bill that we had on the House floor last session, or in the special session rather, which would have been the largest funding increase in the history of our state for our public schools, that's what I support. I also support this opportunity for students to choose something different. I think all of us realize, whether you support school choice or not, that almost every student in the state of Texas is going to stay in our public school system, especially in our rural communities. And so we've got to make sure that that is protected and that they receive the funding that they need.
You know, Governor Abbott proposed that universal $10,000 voucher. Does something like that, do you think, have momentum at all?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, there's a lot of talk about
That's a lot of money, though.
Well, it is, but it's less than our public schools receive per student. A lot of public schools talk about the basic allotment, which is about $6,100, right? Well, but they actually get closer to $15,000 per student when you look at all of the allotments and all the funding that they receive. So $10,000 per student is actually less than what our public schools receive.
So the state allotment, $6,100, what's the other money? Is that federal money? Or
There's federal money, there's state money, but the basic allotment, again, that's the money that schools can do whatever they want to do. There's security funding, there's teacher pay, there's all these other pieces, and when you add them all up, our public schools get $15,000 per student.
Collaboration and consensus with Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick is said to be imperative from
Yes.
Mike Toomey and Speaker Phelan. Can those relationships be mended, though, after what we saw last session?
Well, look, we've got a great relationship with Governor Abbott. You know, certainly he showed his might in the primaries and, you know, got a lot of candidates elected that will help him pass his agenda. As the leader of our party in the state of Texas, that's his prerogative. That's what he wants to do. He can do that, you know, as a governor of the state of Texas. I think that we are all willing in the Texas House to work across with the east side of the building with the Texas Senate and to do the business of the people of Texas. If you look at it, that's what we focused on the last two sessions, passing the most conservative agenda in the nation, where we pass legacy conservative reforms like spending more money on border security and property tax relief than any state ever. It's those types of solutions that really ultimately bring us together as legislators in both chambers.
What are your priorities for next session? You always make headlines.
Yeah, every once in a while. Look, I'm focused on doubling down on border security and property tax relief. I think that those are things we've got to get done. We've got to get done more funding for our public schools and school choice. And then for me, you know, something that I work on every single session but doesn't always make headlines, I'm focused on safeguarding our pets. I'm focused on providing better protections for our first responders, and I'm focused on safeguarding our kids, whether it be on social media or from, you know, the sexualized agenda that's out there in some of these places. That's what I'm focused on next session.
Representative, thank you.
Thank you.